Amazing Grace, written in 1772 by the Englishman and sea captain John Newton. As a young man, Newton was a scoundrel and a libertine. In fact, he joined the British Navy, but he also attempted to desert the British Navy, and for that he received 8 dozen lashes and a demotion to common seaman. When Newton, who finally got out of the Navy, went to serve on a slave ship, the Pegasus, where he continued to get along with no one. The crew left Newton in West Africa with a slave trader named Amos Kalau. For a while, Newton himself was a slave in service to Kalau's wife, an African royal who treated Newton as vilely as she treated her own slaves. John's father eventually sent a rescue party to find John and bring him back to England. It was on that voyage home that the ship John was on got into a horrendous storm off the coast of Ireland and almost sank. John, perhaps for the first time in his life, prayed to God for the safety of the ship. And miraculously, the ship's cargo shifted to cover a hole in the hull, and the ship drifted to safety. Newton marked that moment as his conversion to Christianity. Years later, when he renounced the slave trade and slavery itself, he penned the words to Amazing Grace to honor his reconciliation to God. The origin of the tune we all know as Amazing Grace is another matter. A professor from the University of Old Mississippi tells me that while Newton didn't write the music, there have been several hundred tunes to which the words of Amazing Grace could have been sung, just like many other hymns with regular rhythmic verse. You all know the bagpipe melody called New Britain. It was popular a few hundred years ago. Yep, out of all those hundreds of tunes, New Britain became the melody we now know and love as Amazing Grace, right around 1835. Did you know that that tune has also become a favorite of the Cherokee Indians? They set words to it in their own language, and it's become sort of a Cherokee national anthem. In fact, Amazing Grace has become the theme song for civil rights here in America, maybe with Native Americans, certainly in other places in the world. Maybe Amazing Grace is a model for all who are suffering social oppression and injustice. I want to read the lyrics for you. A couple of words that require explanation. The word fear, which in Newton's day and sort of in ours, meant two things. It meant terror, of course, to be afraid, but it also meant love. There's an image of shield and portion, and if you've ever been in the military, you'll know what 3 hots and a cot means, as well as having a good weapon by your side. Finally, there's the image of the veil, and being able to be behind the veil is a very special place, especially in a church, because only the most spiritual leaders can go behind the veil and actually commune with God. Amazing Grace. Amazing Grace. How sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found, was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares I have already come. 'Tis grace that brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. The Lord has promised good to me. His word my hope secures. He will my shield and portion be as long as life endures. Yea, when this flesh and heart shall fail, and mortal life shall cease, I shall possess within the veil a life of joy and peace. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less days to sing God's praise than when we've first begun. Amazing Grace.